Well, welcome to the, let me see, February 22nd, 2022 session of Tangerine SDR and Hamside technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and this week I've been working on a couple projects. I did a small pluggable board, like an Adafruit board project, and that was fun. And then I've been working on back on the KA9Q radio stuff, and I've actually made some headway, so that's quite good. So that's it for me. Next on the list is Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. It's been a very busy week. As I said, I got my paper accepted to geophysical research letters, so it's now in production. I did a presentation, a pre-recorded presentation for Eric Guth's QSO today, so Hamsai will be represented there. Been doing a lot of work just with logistics for the Hamsai workshop, so I'd be very curious to know if there are any people on here who are planning, especially planning on going in person, that I don't know that they're already planning on going in person. So be interested to know about that. And let's see, anything. Yeah, so Jay looks happy. Anything else? I feel like there's one other thing, but I guess that's, oh yeah, that's right. And Bill Engelke, he had surgery last Thursday. So he has, I talked to him today. He was discharged from the hospital today, so he's home recovering. So we want to wish him well on his recovery. So hope right now he's planning on being in person at the Hamsai workshop. So hopefully he'll be better. All right, back to Net.
Well, fine business. Next on the list is Andy, N8LWF. Welcome, Andy.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, this is my first meeting, and I'm glad to be here. So not much to add unless you want to know a little about me, which is not a whole lot.
Well, what are your interests? And
I have, my interests are anything related to communication. My whole career has been nothing but some form of communication, which has been about the past 40 years. And that extends, of course, into ham radio. So I also like to do things with my hands. I'm definitely a hands-on kind of person. I'm into music, have been a musician for many years. I built my own pipe organ and added a MIDI interface with that, which is a great deal of fun to have my computer play the pipe organ. And so I just like to, I'm primarily a hands-on kind of person. And the thing that caught me was the personal space weather station project you guys have. That really excited me. And I thought I wanted to be a part of that.
well, very good. And we welcome you, and hopefully you'll find a niche that suits your interests.
Me too, thanks.
Okay, next on the list is Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, good evening. I have made some progress on this Tonga thing I was doing. I have a summary that I can post in chat and let you download it and look at it if you want to. I'm probably not going to stick around too long this evening because I'm feeling kind of puny, but that's about it. I'll go on and post that in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Next on the list is Dan, N4XWE. Go ahead, Dan. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm not sure my computer is here, but I'm here.
You didn't look like you were there.
Having some Windows issues.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, I use Mozilla as my browser in Windows, and it likes to update on its own. So, you know.
Whoop, muted mic. It's what you get for typing while you're talking.
I know that could be Windows just getting even with them.
Okay, I'm not sure what caused all of that, but every time I would try to click on my microphone, it would double click.
Yes.
So anyway, enough of that. This week, worked a little bit on scripts, kind of updating a few things and sorting a few things out. Also did reservations for Hamsai and Huntsville for the hotel. And I'll get the meeting reservations going sometime early next week. And that's about it from here. Back to you, Dave.
Well, fine business. Next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Hello. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I have had some commotion, but also been somewhat quiet. The let's see, I've been working on a solar charge, solar power deal to run things remotely, so I don't have to worry about. I can do things away from the house a little bit, and also some other forms of transferring information at low data rates. Other than that, not much.
Okay. Next on the list is David, N1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good evening, everyone. First off is dealing with our yo-yo weather here. Goes from like single digits to 50 degrees and then back down again.
Yeah.
Very icy for walks right now. Have made hotel and flight arrangements for the workshop. Not a lot of flights in and out, but should make it work. And then been doing some interesting comparisons of antennas. As I mentioned, I think last week, I bought a MLA 30 Plus, which a lot of people talk about on the net. Let me say, well, it makes a really good S9 noise generator. Not very sensitive. Our amplifiers are night and day to whatever they put in that thing. So I'm interested to at least figure out what they think they've put there, and then working on towards the talk on our antennas and amplifiers that we use, and which presumably can be of use to the personal space weather systems, as well as these are what we have used out in the field for many years. Various sizes, from the AM Doppler project, which uses 1 foot on a side square, to things. We've got one down at South Pole that's 20 feet on a side, all using the same basic design philosophy, but designed to pick up various emissions. So it hopefully will be interesting to the people. So back to net.
Well, fine business. Next on the list is David Waugh, KE8QEP. Go ahead, David. David, are you there?
I saw a message in the chat that he was on the phone.
Oh,
It was
okay.
about 5 minutes ago, so he might.
We'll
still
get
be
back
there.
to him. Next on the list is Gary, AF8A. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Not too much new here. I do have to say I've been kind of interested in Nathaniel and the bit of a data analysis tutorial you've been starting on a Thursday meetings. And I started thinking about Fourier transforms and filtering and all that sort of stuff. And I kind of realized I hadn't done any of that since probably 1984, when I took signals and systems my senior year at Case. So I found an awesome series of 39 YouTube videos from a data scientist at the University of Washington. So I'm at number 19, 20 more to go, but hopefully hopefully that'll help me a little bit. Looking forward to our next session though. Back to net.
Okay. Next on the list is James, KG4 DSG. Go ahead, James.
Good evening, Dave, and the group. Not much to report here. I'm sitting on the bench waiting for a call to jury duty for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully that will go well. And other than that, back to the net.
Well, I hope they haven't been a crime spree in your area. Anyway, next on the list is Joe, W7 LUX.
Good evening, all. Been monitoring grape data, been conducting some 70 centimeter radio frequency experiments here, and getting ready for somewhere between 14 and 26 inches of snow by Thursday. And seeing as I'm supposed to be coordinating the local ARES group, I've got to spend some time. So if I disappear, it's, setting up people to monitor for stranded motorists and so forth. Anyway, thanks, Dave.
Where are you, Joe? What state?
I'm in northern Arizona at 7,000 feet.
Oh, boy.
Yes. And a big storm coming down from the northwest. The barometer's down to 29.77.
Yep. Well, good luck with that, Joe.
Thank you, Dave.
Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. It's been a good week. The Trimble Res 720 protocol is now fully covered in GPSD, and the code has been released for testing. So once I get my wiring harness adapter built, I'll be testing that. Also, there was a power outage at the VLF receiver site, and that was my first test of the script of the script that I wrote after a power outage with it writing data. The way the script is that if it doesn't see the data directories, first it'll check for them, and if it does, it'll run the appropriate programs. But this time, the directory didn't mount quick enough, so I have to investigate that. There was another quick thing that I was looking at. So there's this program called Ebsynth, and what it does, it allows you to turn a Raspberry Pi or a computer with an appropriate sound card into an EBNOT transmitting rig. Initially, what you had to do, since the carrier is phase and frequency coherent, you had to use a 10 megahertz reference. That had to be divided down and connected to one channel of the sound card. The carrier output would be generated on the output of the sound card. Now the author, the same author as VLFRX Tools, has changed it so you can simply use a GPS pulse per second signal. And with an appropriate sound card and a Raspberry Pi, you could have a very compact EBNOT transmitting rig. I just want to show Paul's setup quick. There's a this is Paul's setup. You could see on the screen. This is the GPS module, and the pulse per second signal is fed into the input of the Raspberry Pi sound card. The carrier output comes out the output of the Raspberry Pi sound card and is fed back into the input. This feedback loop is to keep the 3 servo loops that the software runs, to keep those 3 servo loops in check. The output is obviously taken off the output of the sound card and is fed into the power amp for transmitting. Messages can take hours to transmit, even just a couple characters, but it's really cool to be able to transmit messages across the ocean below 9 kilohertz, which is really cool. And another caveat to this is that the clock on the Raspberry Pi has to be synced to synced with NTP, and GPS has to be disciplining it. So the main thing is that we need a very stable carrier for phase coherence on the other end so it could be decoded. That's all I have. I'm going to stop sharing.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm looking at your layout and I see a switching power supply and a LAN cable. Is there any evidence that you have a noise problem from either of these sources?
No. This is just a regular this is just powering the Raspberry Pi, and the LAN cable is to SSH into the Pi to actually send the message, and also set the clock and discipline NTPD. So no, there's no issue with the noise or anything.
I noticed on our Kiwis that some of the switching supplies will generate interference, and the best solution for us is to use the 1 megahertz switching supplies. They seem to be calmer than the others.
Yeah, with this, it's actually not that critical. The main thing is, even though that the carrier might have a little bit of noise, the main thing is that the carrier has to be phase and frequency coherent to a reference. But these little switching supplies don't really cause that much trouble. They actually operate in the upper VLF band, and we're only transmitting in below 9 kilohertz. So it's not much of an issue.
Well, that's good news. Thanks.
Yep.
Well, are you done, Nathaniel?
Yeah,
I'm not Nathaniel, Jonathan.
John.
Yes, I'm all done.
For some reason I skipped over Tom, so let's call on Tom. KJ.
Well, it was good reason. I'm not really active with this group, but I like to be a fly on the wall. I live in Sebastopol, California, and I do local 432 whisper stuff, and I'm on 40 meters now whisper with a 60-foot vertical. And in the background, I'm working with the Kiwi groups, Rob Robinette, who does the Whisper Demon, and some of the other crazies up here in Santa Rosa, and then Glenn Elmore. So I have engaged interest with all these people and these experiments, and looking for more shoes to drop, and following your atmospheric studies and your space studies with great interest.
Well, very good. Glad you're here.
I am too.
Next on the list is Jules, K2 KGJ. Go ahead, Jules.
Good evening, Danette. Sorry I missed last week, but a lot going on. We're finally rid of most of the ice, the 2 inches or more of ice that we had underfoot for a couple of weeks. Although we're supposed to get something more coming up Friday, I understand, maybe a mix of snow, freezing rain, and sleet. But it's, as Dave mentioned earlier, it's the yo-yo weather this time of year. Had most of my week this week, most of my time was spent with trying to get some stuff ready for my son's sugar bush We've got a couple of Pi systems that he's running, and it's about time for some SAP is running now, but it's not into a daily cycle yet. The other thing is fighting with Pi and with Buster and with Bullseye, the latest version, to get WinLink going with a ICOM 705 for portable operation for ARES. I think that's finally working. WSJTX works fine on it now, and it looks like WinLink is going to be operational. Other than that, there was an email today from Noel Pettit regarding his presentation for March, and also a presentation coming out of University of New Hampshire on a magnetometer, which I hadn't seen before, nor Dave had either, from PTI, which was introduced back in 2015, which is Fluxgate Mag, and which is kind of an interesting device. It looks like it may be sensitive enough to use for with proper temperature compensation, because again, it has drift, unfortunately, down in the same range that the RM3100 handles. I've ordered a couple of them. Dave's ordered one, and when we get some time, we'll play with it. But I don't know why we hadn't seen this before. It is a Fluxgate. It's very inexpensive. The development board is $24. The chip itself is only $6 in single quantities. So it's pretty much the cheapest thing out there, other than the RM3100, which is a 3-axis. These are single-axis sensors. But Dave, I don't know. Do you know, Dave McGraw? Do you know anything about the presentation in March from the UNH person on the magnetometer?
I do not.
Okay, just curious. Anyway, that's about it from here and back to Ned.
But
I'm gonna have to leave here in about another 5 or 10 minutes. I got to get back to the sugar bush work.
Quick question. How do you
Yep.
like your ICOM 705?
Well, I'll tell you, when I first got it, I loved it. I took it out for one field day. Then I ran into some problems on 2 meters with a local repeater. I have a neighbor that's only a few hundred feet away, and with a 600 kilohertz separation, if we're both on the same repeater, he basically blocks the 705 only 600 kilohertz away. That's that's even running as low as 10 watts at his location. So it kind of soured me initially, but then I started looking at it, especially with the wireless LAN connection that's available, and the FT8 presets, and decided to try to get an automated setup going with a Pi for portable ARES, WinLink, and other digital operations. And so far, that's going well. And I really like the little unit. I also have a KX3, which requires a little more to interface it with a Pi. But I think the 705 is a fine little radio.
Okay, I don't think it comes with a factory a GPS DO input, does it?
Yeah, it comes. There is a GPS unit internally.
Oh, there is.
Oh yeah.
And like for whisper use on VHF, we need about 0.5 ppb.
Right. I
maintain that?
I haven't used the GPS. I've got. I have other time references here, so I really haven't tried that yet. But if I'm in the field, I'm going to give that a shot and see how that GPS unit. But in theory, it should work.
Love to hear it. Thank you.
By the way, there's an amplifier. There's a 40-watt amplifier that the guy in I guess it's in Russia, that put out that nice little SDR radio that Scotty bought. There's a new amplifier that goes along with that has an auto tuner, is compatible with a 705, with a KX3. It's not cheap. It's $1,000, but it's a small profile, 40 watt, and it would be a neat thing to have for field installation if you're going to be running QRP as well.
What's the power on VHF with the 705?
10 watts.
Okay. No. Hey, that's a lot of power.
Yeah, that's if you're running external power supply. With the internal battery, 5 watts.
Okay.
Back to Net.
Okay. And next on the list is Scotty, WA2 DFI. Go ahead, Scotty. Scotty, are you there?
I gotta find my cursor. Not the kind that you want to mute, the other kind.
Curse is foiled again.
Curses, yes. But been working on this week, pretty much finished up the additions to the data engine adapter for Jonathan. I have a couple questions for Jonathan after we go into the general session. But I think I got it pretty well done, maybe a few tweaks. I'm going to try to run it by Tom McDermott and Jonathan both, and anyone else who's interested, and see if we can get any comments on it. And then we'll be ready to start layout on that. The layout should go pretty fast because there's not hardly any components, it's connector to connector. So, and still dealing with the my CAD guy who's overworked. I need to go find these other customers and buy them off or something, to get them out of in front of us in line. So anyway, that's what I've been working on mostly. Oh, and Hamcation. Yeah, last week I was kind of beat down by Hamcation. It's a lot of getting up early and staying up late, not enough time to sleep. But it was pretty good. I don't know if Dan gave you a report last week on Hamcation, but
Dan and Bill both did.
and Bill both, yeah. So I think it was a pretty well received. Gave the talk on the Tangerine, and already got an email comment on it. So I think we're going to get to somebody coming to Hamsci because of that talk. So that's good. And also got almost all of my Hamsci arrangements made. You're still working on the airlines, but that'll be tomorrow, and then that'll be finished. So
Hey, you got the runaround of that.
oh yeah,
I apologize.
yeah, because part of it was because in 2020, when we made the reservations, then it was canceled. So there was a credit that the airline was still going to give me, but good luck trying to get hold of it. I mean, you can't. You get online and they acknowledge the fact that it's there, but then they say, oh, you got to call the booking agent. You can't do it online. So anyway, I won't bore you with all the details, but it's been handled, and so we're ready for Huntsville. Back over to you, Dave.
Well, fine business. And I believe I've called on everybody. We've got 15 tonight. And if not, then we're open for general discussion.
Is there anyone on here that I don't know about that's planning on going in person to Hamsci? Dave, are you going?
No.
No.
Could you repeat the question, please?
If you are going to the Hamsci workshop in person, then I don't know about you. So I know that Scotty's going. I know that Dan is going. I know that you're going, Jay. I know that Dave is going. I know that David McGaw is going. I think that's everybody that I know is going in person.
How about Jonathan? Are you going?
Unfortunately not, because it didn't work out with his new job and the flights. We tried really hard.
Yeah. Oh, and are you going to have any? You're going to have some students there, aren't you? Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm going to have a whole gaggle of students, and I'm actually trying to. So because Jonathan couldn't go, and there's a few other people that freed up a little bit of money. So I'm debating. I'm trying to decide if Kung should go too, but Kung hasn't really been working on things during the semester, but he is now starting to pick up stuff with the WWV project. So I'm trying to figure that out. But
So is John and Christina, are they going to be there, or?
Christina and David Kasdan will be there. John Gibbons will not.
Okay.
He'll be virtual.
Okay.
And you can, as I know, I've been updating the program on the website, so it says whether people are virtual or in person.
Yeah, I
with
didn't
their
notice that.
presenters.
Okay, yeah.
So as I know, I update that.
So yeah, we're going to be interested to see how the virtual and in-person combo works, because that's kind of what we're going to be planning for DCC in September, because there'll be people that won't want to come.
I think it's going to, well, the oral sessions, I think, are going to work out just fine, because we're basically going to run a webinar. I'm going to have one laptop up there that's just going to constantly be connected to the webinar, and presenters just need to run their presentations off of that one laptop, and that's it. And then I'm going to have my students, I'm going to have them personing another laptop or two in the room. And the student's job is to make sure that Zoom is working okay and to basically watch the chat and be able to ask questions of the speakers based on what they see in the chat.
So you're going to have then a regular audio system and camera that's going to an audio system and camera, the audio system being for the room and the camera being to show it up on the screen, just like a regular in-person system. And then you're going to have an additional laptop in front of the speaker that's going to be the webinar interface, and then a couple people out in the audience checking that, listening to the broadcasts, the Zoom session, to make sure the audio and video are coming through okay, and then maybe to help field questions if there's during that time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds.
So I'm not going to worry about giving a video feed. Like the video feed I'll have using the webcam that's built in the laptop. So you should be able to see the presenter. But I'm not going to worry about giving a video feed of the rest of the room or anything like that.
So then the presenter is going to have to run that Zoom session. In other words, put his slides up on that machine at the same time. So then where are the screens?
There's only going to be one laptop at the podium. So you'll have one laptop, and I will send links out to all the presenters with Google Drive links where you're going to upload your presentations ahead of time. And so you can, when you upload your presentation to your Google Drive link, it will show up on the laptop automatically.
Okay, so I don't bring a laptop as a presenter. I walk up and my presentation is already in the Google Drive.
Yep.
So basically I just give my presentation on that laptop as if I was, and then how are you going to get the screen to feed the local? You're going to have a screen behind the presenter, a display screen, right, with their presentation.
Right, it'll just be mirroring what's on the laptop.
Oh, okay, right, and then it'll be zooming the content as well. Okay, got it. That sounds easy.
It's as straightforward as you can make it. We're not complicated.
Yeah.
And like I do this all the time in my classes or my lectures. I just run Zoom. I do it hybrid, and it works out fine.
And then the audio from your microphone or lapel mic, whatever, goes into the audio system of the room, and then a separate feed goes into the computer, or you just use the microphone on the computer to get the audio feed.
I think I'm just going to use the microphone on the computer. I'm still going to try and hammer out some of those details with the tech people.
I think we tried this at our local radio club meeting, and they had one of the young guys out in the audience with a laptop monitoring what the users, the non-present users see. But the biggest problem they had was getting the audio sorted out, because the video, they plugged an external monitor into the PC, and then they ran the Zoom on that PC. So then you get the slides and you get the Zoom session, and that all works, except that now the people in the room, and the presenter had to speak loudly because he didn't have an amplified system in the room. That was the only problem.
One other thing, you would also want to plan for a handheld mic to walk around the room to get questions from the audience.
Yeah.
And you normally have that with a couple wireless mics with the integrated system in the room, but then you got to somehow get that fed into the computer so that the Zoom people can hear the audio, a feed from the audio system instead of from picking it up.
What people will do is have the room mixer then feed into the computer input.
Right, and that's one thing they didn't do at the club I was with, and it did not work very well. So
there is an AV contact person that I can work with, that I can talk about that with. And Jason, so of course this thing isn't really going to have anything to do with the Zoom, but Jason Johnston will be there from Ham Radio.
So you'll have an expert on hand to help with audio and things like that. Yeah.
But I'm not going to assume that he's going to solve my Zoom problems, because he's going to be. I'm going to assume that I'm going to be like, Jason, you handle your Ham Radio 2.0 stuff, and because that's what you're here to do.
Yeah.
So he does his thing, But so I'm not going to rely on him for that. But of course, I'm sure he'll be helpful if he can be. But I don't want to, stress him out.
He has his own separate AV system, right, with his cameras, and how does he
I
pick?
think so.
And
I
he
do
picks the
know.
audio up just with mics from the audio system in the room, right?
Yeah, I did actually put him in touch with the AV people at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center the other day. They haven't gotten back to him yet, so I need to follow up on that. But
So, are you doing anything special for a higher bandwidth internet connection to run the Zoom or not?
they tell me it's adequate. I asked, and they said it. They said it.
Because I
would
was
be
thinking
adequate.
one of the things that we would want to do at DCC, probably you want to do it here, is have a wired connection so that you're not competing with the Wi-Fi in the room with the 43
Yeah.
people who are all going to have their laptops on. And
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think I need to meet with the AV people soon to hammer out those details. But I think that's a really good idea.
sounds cool.
Yeah. One thing that's nice, I think, I'm hopeful about the this is going to be at an educators training facility at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. So hopefully their internet is better.
Yeah.
And they also they don't seem to be nickel and diming us the same way that like the hotel does. So I'm not saying it's cheap, but well, I mean compared to the hotel, the rates, the room rentals and the rates at the Rocket Center are cheap. And because it's a state-owned facility, you don't have to pay taxes. And so that's how we got the food costs down so low at the Rocket Center. Just a much better arrangement.
And by the way, when we were there for AMSAT 3 years ago, the food at the Rocket Center for dinner was pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, maybe we could consider having a future DCC there. Is it open to? Well, we're nonprofit also. It's open to people other than educational institutions. I guess if AMSAT was there, they.
Oh yeah.
AMSAT was there, and we had a really, really good time.
Yeah.
And they were really, the facility, the Rocket Center was really good to us.
One thing, I don't know if everybody got the word last week, but did everybody hear that Bob Reninga passed away?
Yeah.
No, I had not heard that.
Yeah, he passed away right on the 5th of February or the 6th or 7th, right before Hamcation. I got the news right before. In fact, I think Dave, you sent me the first word of it. And then I went and searched and found that it was true, unfortunately.
Yeah, in his obituary, I didn't know that he was a retired career naval officer.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
The first time I met him was when I was a Boy Scout and I went on a trip to the U.S. Naval Academy.
Really?
Yeah.
So well, I was talking to the president of AMSAT at Hamcation, and Tapper and AMSAT do a banquet at Hamvention coming up in May, a co-sponsored thing, and it's supposed to alternate back and forth between the two. Well, what I mentioned to the president was, how about we have like WB4APR celebration of life at the banquet, and invite people to come in and share their anecdotes of, because Bob was very quirky and kind of out of the ordinary. So I'm sure there's lots of people that have great experiences in working on projects with Bob. So to come up and just give a little couple-minute sketch of, what you did with Bob and when and where and all that, and how you were impressed or not, or whatever your story is, and just have a parade of, a half a dozen or a dozen people come by, or it may be one of those things where we're there half the night because everybody has a story.
Well, you also need a fallback plan because you don't really know who the audience is going to be.
Well, I'm going to ask people to sign up, so I'll know at least a minimum number of people.
Right. So you want to have, a regular speaker, right? But I'm looking forward to that myself, to the banquet, the AMSAT Tapper banquet. Who's sponsoring it this year? Is it the AMSAT term or the Tapper term?
I believe it's Tapper's turn, but there's been a couple times in a row when Tapper hasn't really been able to come up with a speaker. So it's been AMSAT multiple times in a row. But seeing as how Bob was so instrumental in APRF, and that was really a foundation of Tapper from the old days, I mentioned it to the president, and he seemed to think it was a good idea. And I think if we can drum up enough business, which should be easy. I mean, everybody knows Bob. He's been a fixture in Hamvention forever. So if we can't come up with any stories, it's our own fault, because I'm sure there's plenty of them.
I would propose also Michelle W5, and I can't remember her call, of the Open Research Institute would be a good speaker.
Yep. W5NYV.
Yeah. I think she would also be a very good banquet speaker for that night.
I don't think she's coming to Hamvention though. So
Well,
of course I got to get the people to come, and then
Yeah. Right. But you can always ask. She can always,
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah.
Nathaniel,
Yes.
on Sunday or after the formal presentation, after Saturday, do you know if there's any plans to do a tour of the Marshall Space Flight Center?
I am not making any plans for that.
Okay. So Saturday at the end of the banquet, that's the end of all the planned activities.
Yep.
All right, because that figured in travel, go home, in that case, I was reserving Sunday just in case there was some activity, but now
There's
Sunday
nothing, nothing formal planned for Sunday. So you're certainly welcome to stay and tour the area, enjoy the museum. If you can find someone to give you a tour of the Marshall Space Flight
No, there
Center,
are organized
or
tours.
if you want to take one. But yeah, you're more than welcome to. I'm just as part of the actual ham-sci workshop now.
Okay.
and it's nothing's on Thursday either, right, Nathaniel?
That's right. Nothing official.
Okay. Yeah, for my own self from Detroit, we're planning a Wednesday, Thursday drive. That's travel days. Sunday and Monday is drive back.
Yeah.
That way we don't have to worry about hotels and transferring planes at Atlanta like I did for AMSAT. And it's just going to be a whole lot easier.
Hey, you're gonna love this. I went to get my plane reservations, right? And they have the prices are about double what they were last year. And you're not gonna believe this. Okay, I'm in Arizona, right? So I'm looking it down, and every single flight is 2 stops or more. And so get this, they fly from Phoenix to Newark, and then back to Chicago, and then to Huntsville. Or they want to fly me to LAX and then directly to Huntsville.
What airline?
United.
Ah.
And I mean, I'm looking at these and I'm going like, do you guys look at a map ever? I mean, this is like the wrong way. And so you say all of the overall itineraries are like 10 or 11 hours. But some of them are a lot more time on the plane than other ones because you're flying to San Francisco. One of them went to San Francisco. And then
That's the wrong direction.
Yeah, or it went to Houston and then it went back to Denver and then out to, I mean, wait a minute. It's like, so I wonder if you get airline miles for all those extra legs that you fly.
Have you considered just driving?
I have considered that, but I don't really have the time to do that. It's a long way from Arizona. Normally I'm a driving fanatic and anywhere west of the Mississippi, I'd consider it. And actually, and in an area around St. Louis too, which is where my brother lives, I could go visit there and have it. So when I go to Hamvention, I stop in St. Louis. It's only 6 hours to Dayton, but unfortunately, it's a lot longer than that from St. Louis to Huntsville. So, not going to happen. And you better watch out. Look out for snow on your way back too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's another thing for those from the northern latitudes up here. It's still going to be cool and there could still be snow on the ground up here. But when you get down there, it's going to be more spring-like. So change your wardrobe. You're going to need wardrobe for 2 different climates.
So spring-like, that means snow, right?
Up here, possibly.
I'm just looking at the snow that Joe's going to get in Flagstaff. We're getting rain. So. Yeah. But it's a cold front coming through and it's terrible. It's going to be 58 for the high. And so I'm going to stay inside, I got to get my coat out,
58 is terrible.
You'll notice up here, that for us, that's short sleeve weather.
Yeah. And I know you'll be back on the blower again in August to remind me how it's 125 down here and 70 up there.
No, I wouldn't do that. I'll give you some slack and say, Yeah, it's 125 there and it's only 80 degrees up here.
Yeah. And your 80 is pretty uncomfortable though. So
Yeah, it's humid.
because I worked a guy on the radio one time. He was from Vermont. And he said the reason he moved to Vermont, he says, because it never ever gets above 75 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know where he is in Vermont, if he's up in the mountains or whatever, but
He's in the Canada part of Vermont.
anyway, this was summer for us. And I pointed out that, 75 degrees, it doesn't even get down to 75 in Phoenix in the summer. So he was a bicyclist, so he liked the 75 or lower temperatures. I didn't ask him how he liked it in January, but
We've been having cool summers for many years, but the last couple of summers we've been topping 100.
you're in southern New Hampshire, right?
I'm about a third of the way up.
But okay.
Yeah, we get the few weeks in the summer, mainly August, July and August, where it'll just get up into the 90s and stay there. And even at night, it'll get down into the low 80s. And there are a few days a year it breaks 100 up here.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
generally we actually get the cold, we have a cool summer where everybody else is sweltering. And it is a good place to live.
so how far are you from Boston?
2 hours,
Okay.
about 120 miles.
So you're kind of out of the Boston weather system, right?
Well, no, we're pretty much the same weather, but they're 10 degrees warmer than we are.
Yeah. Warmth is something we have here, that's for sure.
Yeah, though I'll tell you, I'll take the dry heat any day.
I can't go back east. I can't go to here. I'm glad Ham size in March because if it was in July and August, it'd be terrible. I couldn't stand the humidity. I
Yeah,
remember I went to do field day with my buddy Mike in Maryland, and we were in the Tidewater on the ocean, not on the ocean side, but bay side, and it was the only thing that saved us is it was a cool weekend because and I remember we operated the radios in a boathouse. It was really cool actually because it had the boats in the bottom and then it had a tower 2 stories high that we set the radios up in. So we got a really great view of the whole Tidewater area. But I remember in the middle of the night looking up at the ceiling with my flashlight and it was completely black and it was mosquitoes. Covered in mosquitoes. But since it was cool, we could wear jackets or sweatshirts and we could keep them off of us. If we'd had to take those shirts off, oh, it would have been curtains because they would have chewed us alive. And then during the day is just siesta type of lethargy sets in. It's so hot and humid. So
My last night and my last visit in Tel Aviv, Israel, I'm driving down the road. It's a perfectly clear night. And I'm running the windshield wipers because the temperature difference between the air conditioned inside the car and the 100% humidity coming off the Mediterranean, it was like you were driving through a rainstorm. Even though it was a perfectly clear night, there was that much condensation. And when got on the airplane, and they shut the hatch, it's the same thing. You've got outside air in the airplane until the ventilation system takes over. So you've got the cool air coming in and you've got fog in the airplane until they flush all the humid air out of the airplane. It was interesting. Driving like you're in a rainstorm on a perfectly clear night. And then you get out of the car and you die from heat.
Yes.
From the heat and humidity, you just fall
can't
right
breathe.
over.
You can't breathe, right? It's like hitting a wall.
Yeah, it takes a little getting used to of, okay, don't walk that fast. You're not going to move that fast. You will get to where you're going, but just
well, it's
take it slow.
like it is here. I remember in the summer, I would park my motorcycle in the shade of the building, and I had a canvas cover over it. And the canvas would hit the controls, the brake and the clutch levers. I remember the clutch and brake levers being so hot when I got out from work that I could not operate the motorcycle. I had to have gloves on. to operate the bike, and it wasn't because of safety reasons. It was because of I couldn't pull the clutch and the brake with they were too hot, and they were in the shade.
In automotive engineering, during the summertime, we send everything to Death Valley, California, for a hot test. And then in the summer, and in the wintertime, we go up north to northern Minnesota or northern Michigan on Lake Superior, or if you're in Europe, you go up to the Arctic Circle for winter test.
Or if you're Volkswagen, you go to the Greenland ice cap.
Oh, they have a test stand there?
Yep, they did at one time. But that's why there's a road up to the ice cap, which I've been up to.
Yeah.
They were
I've been
actually
up-
testing up there because they figured nobody could watch them.
Yeah, I've been to the Arctic Circle, and I can tell you at the road I took when I go up there, there's a little tourist souvenir shop. It was closed, but the restrooms were open and they were very, very clean. Our Vitsi Hour was where I was based, and Jokkmokk was where I was going in Sweden.
And that's the northern part up by the Arctic Circle?
Correct. Our Vitsi Hour is about 150 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. They call it the Polar Circle. And Jokkmokk is 5 to 10 kilometers or so north of that.
And this is where?
Northern Sweden.
Northern Sweden, okay.
Yeah. Fly to
I haven't
Stockholm.
been over to Sweden. I've been to Norway.
Yeah, fly to Stockholm and then you take
Well
a
above the Arctic
airline
Circle.
2 hours north.
Yeah, I've been to Gothenburg.
Nathaniel, you've been north of
Yeah.
the Arctic Circle, haven't you?
He's been in Svalbard.
Oh, yeah, very.
Yeah, I've been in both.
You've been to
yeah,
both
in the,
poles.
yeah, both the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. But David probably has too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been up to Tromsø and Andøya in Norway, which is 2 degrees above Arctic Circle. And I've been to South Pole, so I've definitely been south of
Yeah, I haven't been to South
southern
Pole.
one.
I was
So-
supposed to go, but weather wasn't cooperative and
So
things like that.
Didn't you go to one of the stations down there, though? I mean, not to the pole itself, but
I went to
The
McMurdo
con-
Station.
McMurdo.
oh,
You made it to
Yeah.
McMurdo.
but that's below
Yeah.
the Arctic Circle, is the Antarctic Circle.
Antarctic.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, I've definitely been to Antarctica, but it's still not quite as exotic as making it to South Pole.
What time of
Gotcha,
year were
yeah.
you there? Were you there during their winter or their summer?
So I was in Antarctica during their summer,
There's summer.
but I've been I spent a whole semester in Svalbard, so I got there in January and left in June, so I saw the whole thing.
Oh, so you got there when there was no sun?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
polar night. It
And
was
left
great.
there when there was no night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
love
left there.
it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The problem going to the Antarctica is you have to be there during their summer, and there's this one really bright star going around and around, blotting everything else out.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot easier. I mean, Svalbard's nice because you can go there as a tourist really if you want, and
Mhm.
and they've got nice hotels up there. Got a Radisson Blue.
Now, this
Yeah.
is Antarctica?
No, that's it's Svalbard. That's north of Norway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What
What
was,
latitude is that? Is that like
78
88?
degrees.
What is it?
78.
78.
78.
78.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Tromsø and Andøya is about 69.
Yeah.
yeah, the last time I was in Sweden, I was at our Vitsi Hour, and it was in the beginning of December. So the sun gets about 10 or 15 degrees above the horizon for 2 or 3 hours, 2 hours, and then it's back down, but you got to go to work. So the sun comes up, it's dark when you get to the office in the morning. About 11, it starts to get a little light,
Hmm.
and then by about 1:30, it's dark again. So you go have lunch, you got a big, very good lunch, you come back and your body says, oh, you just had a good lunch, it's dark outside, it's time to go to bed.
Hmm.
And I went, no, you got another 6-7 hours at the office.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the most difficult I've had is, I would say, Fairbanks in the winter. We fly rockets out of there January, February. And but January in Fairbanks is a little chilly. I saw -52. And as I put it, you get 4 hours of sunset a day. The sun, that's just south of the Arctic Circle. So the sun does just poke up above and then goes right back down again.
Same thing.
I've been there in July, so the exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of gets dusky and then it's time for light again.
Yeah, I've been there spring, fall, and winter, and never could get to Denali because
Yeah.
it was always closed.
I couldn't get there either. But I was from New York and I drove up there for when I first graduated from high school as a road trip. You need to learn how to read maps better. But, and what you find out is you can't get closer than about 35 miles to the mountain, at least that back in the 60s, you couldn't. I mean, and you look at the thing and it's like, wow, this looks really close, but it's still like 30 miles away. So, and
Well,
if you,
around here we say, yep, can't get there from here.
did you ever try walking across the tundra?
Oh yeah.
It's like walking across a sponge.
Oh yeah. I've done a lot of work on Tundra.
So, yeah, so never did that. Looked at it, put a few feet out on it, said, no, not doing that, especially not 30 miles of it.
Yeah, well, Andoya was interesting because we are above the Arctic Circle and we are there in the winter, fall and winter. And while we're there, we watch the sun disappear for the winter. It goes away in November, it comes back in February. And you do get some twilight around noon. So you do get a cycle out of the day, but.
So I have a question for Jonathan, if you're still here.
I'm still here.
I'm having trouble opening the Gerbers for that board, the accessory board. And what I wonder if you could do for me is open the Gerbers up, since you probably have already been able to do that, and just tell me the distance between those two holes to hold the connector down.
I don't have. I can't run Gerber Viewer on my Mac.
Oh, okay. Well, I downloaded a program called ZOFZ PCB, Z of Z, but I can't seem to figure out what the individual layers are and tell it, to identify them, which is what layers copper, what layers silkscreen, what layers solder mask. And either that or I'm just too stupid to use the program, because every time I load it up, it just sits there and looks at me like, oh, I don't know anything. And it gives me a list of the layers and I don't see anything.
Jonathan, I have found an online Gerber viewer that works pretty well for Mac, but I can't remember offhand what the website is. But there is one that works pretty well.
Okay. Because I have, so it's also uploaded to OSH Park as a project, as a shareable project. I did put that in the email.
Because all I saw when I went to OSH Park, I saw I could download the front and the back images, or I could download the whole zip package, which is Gerber's.
Yes.
That's the only two things I could find that I could download that I could get out of it.
I just found one of them that I used, PCBGogo.com.
That's for Mac though, right?
For Mac. Yeah, well, it works on Mac. It's a web-based.
Oh, okay.
So PCBGogo.com/GerberViewer.html.
You could, once you bring that up, you could share your screen.
Oh, yeah, let me do that. Where are you?
there's an open source Gerber viewer called
There it is.
GerbV, and that's what I would use.
That's what I've got, and it's got one of our boards in it. You can,
Okay, so what is the
this
trick?
is a simple board, but
What's the trick to identifying what each layer is when they don't tell you?
you have to just look at it and see what,
Well, I mean, I don't know how to look at it because I'm trying to use the Gerber viewer to look at it, and then it says, well, what layer is that? Is it copper? Is it the drill? Is it the? So I
Well,
see I've got G1, G2, which are supposed to be inner layers, and I got GB, LO and S, and GT, LO and S, which I'm presuming is Gerber top. And one's the silk screen, and one's the copper layer, and one is the solder mask. I'm going to guess those three things. And then there's the text file. I believe I found that this is that's the drill file. It's called text.xln. I think that's the
Excel is a drill file.
XLM is, yeah, that's the drill file.
And then there's
And
a
G1 and G2 would be ground planes, probably.
Okay, but yeah, because I found a place online that supposedly tells me what different CAD programs, how they name their Gerber files.
Well, on OSH Park, if you use that zip file, the file endings were changed according to what OSH Park accepts.
Okay.
With GerbV, if you use that, you can, all you have to do is, there's an option, when you open it up to add layers. What you do is you would add a layer, you pick the file, and then you would eventually add all of the layers. And I believe their identification is what they are is on is actually in the Gerber itself. In the layer itself. There's some text off to the side.
I tried opening the files and looking at the header to see if I could find it, and I did not succeed doing that.
No. If here, let me give you the link to GerbV. I'll put that in the chat.
Okay, I'm looking at another one, the Z of Z PCB, to see if perhaps I can. All I really need is the drill file, I think, if it has XY coordinates on it.
Yeah, actually, the drill file XLN, that's the one that you need, but you need to know which one is which. On GerbV, it'll tell you. Here, let me put it in the link. Or put it in the chat. Put the link in the chat. Okay.
So this will tell me what the files are, or what I'm looking at it now.
No, it'll allow you to actually view the image of the files. It'll actually show what they look like.
Oh, and it'll take each file independently, so then I'll be able to tell what it is once I open it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, if you see in the screenshots, there's a pane to the left, and there's items there. Each one of those items is the individual layer.
Okay,
And if you download the Gerbers from OSH Park, that has all of the files needed for manufacturing. A file I attached was from TI. That might have some extra files created by the CAD program. So if you share, once you get that up and running, you could share your screen.
So okay, so I've got the zip file has got 2 directories in it.
What's the project name, Jonathan? On OSH Park.
I'll give you the link.
What's interesting is they have a Mac OS X directory that's separate from the regular zip directory, but it appears to have just a whole bunch of 1K big files in it, like placeholders or some such thing? Hard to say.
Are you talking about the
Talking about the project, the OSH Park project zip file when I download it.
oh, that Mac OS X folder, that's the hidden folder that Mac OS X puts. That just ignore that.
Okay.
It should be DC 087-A OSH Park. And in there are different, here, I could give you the link here to OSH Park. It'll allow you to view the individual layers. But you could do the same thing with GURB-V.
Okay, I got GURB-V up and running here.
Okay.
And now I just got to get back to the directory that has the actual files in it.
Okay, Dave, here's the shared project on OSH Park.
There we go. Great.
Okay, now should I just be able to drop like the drill file into this, into GURB.v or GURB-V?
Yeah, if there's a plus icon, you could share your screen and I could show you. If there's a
Okay,
plus icon on the side.
let me share the screen if I can get this other stuff off of it. Okay, there it is there. So like,
Okay.
and I can, what I've got over here on another screen, which I can bring in, I can overlap it.
Oh,
This is the directory of the files that I've got from the project.
okay, perfect. On the bottom left corner, there's a plus icon.
Okay,
Yeah.
so click on that
Yep.
and then navigate to where it is going to be, right?
Yep.
Hello, hello.
I'm gonna say 73. I'm fading a bit.
Okay,
I'll
free Nathaniel.
I'll stop the recording, but I'll leave it on so you can keep doing what you're doing.